Construction boss fires black worker who saved a child, then realizes his huge mistake. DeAndre Jackson was a man who embodied the spirit of building, both in the literal sense, with his hands calloused and strong from years of construction work, and in the figurative sense, as he tirelessly constructed a life of stability and love for his family. He was a man of quiet dignity, his work ethic impeccable, his presence on the construction site a testament to his dedication and skill. Every morning, DeAndre would rise before the sun, the smell of coffee and the soft murmurs of his family stirring in the nearby rooms a comforting symphony to start his day. He'd kiss his wife, Aisha, her sleepy smile a reward for his early rising, and then rouse his two young children, their sleepy giggles filling him with a sense of purpose that fueled him through the long workday ahead. He'd pack his lunch, a simple meal of sandwiches and fruit, carefully prepared by Aisha, and head out to the construction site, his worn work boots hitting the pavement with a familiar rhythm. The city was still waking up, the streets quiet except for the rumble of delivery trucks and the distant hum of early morning traffic. DeAndre loved the feeling of being part of something bigger, of contributing to the city's ever-changing skyline. He took pride in the sweat he poured into every project, the tangible evidence of his labor rising steadily towards the sky. Each nail hammered, each beam hoisted, was a testament to his love for his family, a way to provide them with a better future, a future filled with opportunities he had never had. He carried himself with quiet dignity, his work ethic impeccable, his demeanor respectful. He wasn't a man of many words, preferring to let his actions speak for themselves. But when he did speak, his voice was calm and steady, his words carrying the weight of his experience and his unwavering commitment to doing what was right. He believed in doing what was right, even when no one was watching, a principle instilled in him by his grandfather, a man who had faced discrimination and hardship with unwavering integrity. He treated everyone with respect, regardless of their background or position, from the site foreman to the newest apprentice. He believed in the power of hard work, the dignity of labor, and the importance of building a better future for the next generation. DeAndre worked for a large construction company, a company that prided itself on its safety record and its commitment to following protocol. He, like his colleagues, had undergone rigorous safety training, knew the rules by heart, and understood the importance of adhering to them. He had witnessed firsthand the dangers of the job, the potential for accidents and injuries, and he valued the safety protocols that protected him and his fellow workers. However, DeAndre also believed in another kind of protocol, a code of human decency that transcended any rule book. He believed in helping those in need, in protecting the vulnerable, in doing what was right, even if it meant bending the rules. He knew that sometimes, in the face of an emergency, instinct and compassion had to take precedence over rigid adherence to regulations. This belief stemmed from his upbringing in a tight-knit community where helping others was not just a virtue but a way of life. He had seen his neighbors come together to support those in need, to rebuild after a storm, to offer a helping hand to those who had fallen on hard times. He had learned that true strength lay not just in physical prowess but also in compassion and the willingness to put the needs of others before one's own. One sunny afternoon, the sky a brilliant blue canvas dotted with fluffy white clouds, DeAndre was working on the 20th floor of a high-rise building under construction. The air was thick with the sounds of hammering, drilling, and shouting, the symphony of a construction site in full swing, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of progress. DeAndre, secured to his safety harness, his body suspended high above the bustling city streets, was focused on securing a steel beam, his movements precise and practiced, his mind attuned to the rhythm of the work. He felt the familiar satisfaction of a job well done, the pride of contributing to a structure that would soon become a part of the city's skyline. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air, a shrill cry of terror that shattered the rhythm of the construction site and sent a jolt of adrenaline through DeAndre's veins. He looked up, his heart pounding, his eyes scanning the scaffolding and the maze of steel beams and concrete pillars that surrounded him. And then he saw it, a sight that sent a wave of fear and urgency through him. A young boy, no more than 5 years old, his face a mask of terror, had wandered onto the construction site, his small feet navigating the treacherous terrain of scaffolding and building materials. He was now precariously perched on the edge of the scaffolding, his tiny hands gripping the railing, his body swaying dangerously close to the edge. The boy's mother, her face contorted with panic, her voice hoarse from screaming, was frantically trying to reach him, her outstretched arms a desperate plea for her child's safety. Workers froze, their faces pale with fear, their minds paralyzed by the sight of the child teetering on the edge of disaster. Time seemed to slow down, the cacophony of the construction site fading into a distant hum as DeAndre's mind raced, assessing the situation, calculating the risks, and weighing the consequences. He knew the safety protocols, the strict rules that governed every aspect of their work. He knew that unclipping his safety harness was a violation of those rules, a potentially life-threatening act. But he also knew that the boy's life hung in the balance, that every second counted, that hesitation could mean the difference between life and death. He couldn't stand idly by, a passive observer to a tragedy unfolding before his eyes. He had to act, to protect, to save. DeAndre didn't hesitate. He unclipped his safety harness, ignoring the shouts of his colleagues, their voices a distant chorus of warnings and protests. He rushed towards the scaffolding, his movements fueled by adrenaline and a primal instinct to protect the vulnerable. He moved with a speed and agility that belied his size, his eyes fixed on the terrified child, his heart pounding in his chest. He reached the scaffolding, his breath coming in ragged gasps, his muscles burning from the exertion. He carefully approached the boy, his movements slow and deliberate, his voice calm and reassuring. "Hey there, little man," he said, his voice a soothing balm to the boy's terror. "Don't worry, I'm here to help you. Just hold on tight, and everything will be all right." He slowly extended his hand, his calloused fingers outstretched, his eyes locking with the boy's, building a connection of trust and safety. The boy, his fear momentarily abetted by DeAndre's calm presence and reassuring words, reached out and grasped DeAndre's hand, his small fingers clinging to DeAndre's rough hand like a lifeline. With a gentle but firm pull, DeAndre lifted the boy to safety, his strong arms enveloping the child in a protective embrace. He held him close, feeling the boy's small body trembling against his chest, his heart pounding in unison with the child's. The construction site erupted in cheers and applause, the tension breaking as relief washed over the workers. The boy's mother, tears streaming down her face, her voice choked with emotion, rushed towards DeAndre, her gratitude overflowing in a torrent of hugs and thanks. She clung to him, her body shaking with relief, her words tumbling over each other in a desperate attempt to express her gratitude. DeAndre, his heart still pounding from the adrenaline rush, simply smiled, the boy's safety his only reward. He had acted instinctively, his human instinct to protect overriding any concerns about safety protocols or potential repercussions. He had done what he knew was right, what any decent human being would have done in that situation. The incident, though averted without tragedy, did not go unnoticed. The site foreman, Mr. Henderson, a man with a reputation for being a stickler for rules and regulations, had witnessed DeAndre's actions from his vantage point on the ground. He was appalled, his face contorted with a mixture of anger and fear. He immediately summoned DeAndre to his office, his voice booming across the construction site, his words laced with disapproval and condemnation. DeAndre, still basking in the afterglow of his heroic act, the gratitude of the mother and the cheers of his colleagues still ringing in his ears, was taken aback by the foreman's harsh tone. He entered the foreman's office, a small, cramped space cluttered with blueprints, safety manuals, and warning signs. Mr. Henderson, his face flushed with anger, his eyes narrowed in disapproval, wasted no time in launching into a tirade. "DeAndre Jackson," he boomed, his voice echoing through the small office. "What in the world were you thinking? Unclipping your safety harness on the 20th floor? Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? You could have been killed. You could have killed others." DeAndre, still reeling from the adrenaline rush and the satisfaction of saving the child, tried to explain his actions, his voice calm and respectful despite the foreman's fury. He emphasized the urgency of the situation, the imminent danger to the child's life, and the lack of time to follow protocol. He explained that he had assessed the risks, that he had acted quickly and decisively to prevent a tragedy. "Mr. Henderson," he said, his voice steady, "I understand that I broke protocol, but that boy was about to fall. There was no time to wait for someone to get a safety line or to call for help. I had to act." But the foreman was unmoved. His mind closed to any justification that contradicted the company's strict adherence to safety regulations. He saw only a violation of the rules, a blatant disregard for the company's policies, a potential lawsuit waiting to happen. He saw DeAndre's actions as a threat to the company's reputation, a liability that could cost them dearly. "Rules are rules, DeAndre," he retorted, his voice laced with a condescending tone. "We have safety protocols in place for a reason. You should have followed those protocols no matter the circumstances. Your actions were reckless and irresponsible. You put yourself and others at risk." He suspended DeAndre on the spot, pending a full investigation into the incident. DeAndre, shocked and dismayed, his heart sinking with a sense of injustice, was escorted off the construction site, the cheers and gratitude of his colleagues replaced by whispers and uncertain glances. He felt betrayed by the company he had served faithfully for years, punished for an act of heroism that had saved a child's life. The investigation was swift and decisive, the company's priority not to uncover the truth, but to protect its own interests. They reviewed the security footage, interviewed witnesses, and scrutinized DeAndre's actions with a magnifying glass, searching for any evidence that could justify their decision to terminate his employment. They ignored the mitigating circumstances, the life saved, the heroic act that had averted a tragedy. They focused solely on the rule book, the black and white of their safety protocols, their decision clouded by fear of liability and a desire to maintain their image as a company that prioritized safety above all else. They concluded that DeAndre had indeed violated safety regulations and had put himself and others at risk. They painted a picture of a reckless employee who had disregarded the rules, jeopardizing the safety of the entire construction site. They ignored the testimonies of his colleagues, who praised his quick thinking and his courage, and the heartfelt gratitude of the boy's mother, who credited DeAndre with saving her son's life. The revelation of their decision, delivered in a cold and impersonal letter, was a devastating blow to DeAndre. He had been fired, his livelihood snatched away, his reputation tarnished, all for an act of heroism, an instinctive response to save a child's life. He felt a profound sense of injustice, a bitter taste of betrayal, and a growing anger at the company's callous disregard for human life. He sat at his kitchen table, the letter clutched in his hand, his wife Aisha by his side, her hand resting on his shoulder, offering silent support. He looked at his children, their innocent faces filled with concern, their eyes reflecting the fear and uncertainty that had gripped their home. He knew he had to fight back, not just for himself but for his family, for his colleagues, for anyone who had ever been punished for doing the right thing. He would not let the company's injustice stand. He would not let them silence his voice. He would not let them extinguish the flame of his integrity. DeAndre, reeling from the injustice of his dismissal, the weight of the company's betrayal heavy on his shoulders, was faced with a difficult decision. He could accept his fate, swallow his pride, and seek another job, hoping that his experience and skills would outweigh the blemish on his record. He could try to move on, to put the incident behind him, to focus on providing for his family and rebuilding his life. But something within him, a fire of righteous anger, a deep-seated belief in justice and fairness, refused to let him accept this injustice passively. He had done the right thing, had saved a life, and he would not be punished for it. He would not let the company silence his voice, tarnish his reputation, and deny him the livelihood he had worked so hard to build. He decided to fight back, to challenge the company's decision, to seek justice for himself and to expose the hypocrisy of their actions. He would not let them get away with prioritizing profits over people, with valuing rules and regulations above human life. He contacted a lawyer, a friend of a friend, who specialized in labor law and wrongful termination cases. The lawyer, Mr. Davis, a man with a reputation for his sharp intellect and his unwavering commitment to justice, listened intently to DeAndre's story, his eyes widening with a mixture of disbelief and anger as DeAndre recounted the incident and its aftermath. Mr. Davis, after hearing DeAndre's story, was outraged by the company's actions and agreed to take on his case. He saw in DeAndre's case an opportunity to challenge corporate greed, to expose the hypocrisy of a company that claimed to prioritize safety while punishing an employee for saving a child's life. They filed a lawsuit against the construction company, alleging wrongful termination and highlighting the mitigating circumstances of DeAndre's actions. They argued that the company had prioritized its own interests over the life of a child, that their decision was not only unjust but also morally reprehensible. They demanded reinstatement, back pay, and damages for the emotional distress and reputational harm DeAndre had suffered. The lawsuit garnered significant media attention, the story of the hero fired for saving a child, capturing the public's imagination. DeAndre's story resonated with people who had experienced injustice, who had witnessed the cold indifference of corporations, who believed in the importance of doing what is right, even if it meant breaking the rules. Newspapers and television stations clamored for interviews, their cameras capturing DeAndre's quiet dignity and his unwavering commitment to justice. Social media platforms buzzed with messages of support, hashtags like #JusticeForDeAndre and #HeroesNotFired trending nationwide. The public outcry was overwhelming, a testament to the power of DeAndre's story and the public's thirst for justice. The company, facing mounting public pressure and the threat of a costly legal battle, attempted to defend its actions. They issued press releases emphasizing their commitment to safety, the importance of following protocol, and the potential dangers of DeAndre's actions. They argued that DeAndre's actions, while well-intentioned, had violated company policy and put himself and others at risk. But their arguments rang hollow in the face of public opinion. The image of DeAndre, the hero who had risked his own life to save a child, contrasted sharply with the company's cold and calculated adherence to rules and regulations. The public saw through their attempts to justify their actions, recognizing the hypocrisy of a company that claimed to value human life while punishing an employee for saving one. The consequences of DeAndre's decision were far-reaching, extending beyond the courtroom and the media frenzy. He faced financial hardship, the loss of his income creating a strain on his family. He had to dip into their savings, cut back on expenses, and rely on the support of family and friends to make ends meet. He endured sleepless nights, his mind plagued by worry and uncertainty about the future. He worried about providing for his family, about the impact of the lawsuit on his reputation, and about the possibility of losing his case and facing further repercussions. But he also experienced a groundswell of support from his community, his friends, and even strangers who were moved by his story. He received donations from people across the country, their generosity helping to alleviate the financial burden. He received job offers from other construction companies, their admiration for his courage outweighing any concerns about his past dismissal. He received countless messages of encouragement from people who admired his courage and his commitment to doing what is right. These messages, filled with words of support, gratitude, and admiration, lifted his spirits and strengthened his resolve. He also discovered a strength within himself he had never known before, a resilience that allowed him to face adversity with dignity and determination. He realized that he was not alone in his fight for justice, that there were others who believed in him and supported his cause. He found strength in his family, his community, and the outpouring of support from strangers who had been touched by his story. While DeAndre's lawsuit against the construction company was making headlines and capturing the public's attention, another story was unfolding within the company itself. Several of DeAndre's colleagues, inspired by his courage and disgusted by the company's actions, began to speak out, their voices joining the chorus of dissent against the injustice that had been perpetrated. They shared their own experiences of unsafe working conditions, of pressure to cut corners, of a corporate culture that prioritized profits over the well-being of its employees. They spoke of instances where safety protocols had been ignored, where workers had been injured or even killed due to the company's negligence. They recounted stories of long hours, inadequate safety equipment, and a culture of fear that discouraged workers from reporting safety violations. These whistleblowers, risking their own jobs and reputations, brought to light a pattern of misconduct within the company, exposing a culture of disregard for safety and a prioritization of profits over people. Their revelations painted a damning picture of a company that had betrayed its employees and the public trust, a company that had prioritized its bottom line over the safety and well-being of its workers. One of the whistleblowers, a veteran construction worker named Frank, had witnessed firsthand the tragic consequences of the company's negligence. He had lost a close friend, a fellow worker, in an accident that could have been prevented if proper safety protocols had been followed. He had carried the guilt and anger of that loss for years, his conscience burdened by the knowledge that his friend's death could have been avoided. Inspired by DeAndre's courage, Frank decided to speak out, to break the silence that had haunted him for so long. He contacted a local newspaper, sharing his story and providing evidence of the company's safety violations. He spoke of the pressure to meet deadlines, the lack of proper safety equipment, and the company's disregard for the concerns of its workers. Another whistleblower, a young apprentice named Maria, had witnessed numerous instances of unsafe working conditions and had been reprimanded for raising concerns about safety violations. She had been told to keep her head down and focus on her work, her concerns dismissed as the naivete of a newcomer. But Maria, her conscience troubled by the company's disregard for safety, refused to be silenced. She contacted DeAndre's lawyer, Mr. Davis, offering to provide testimony and evidence to support his case. She spoke of the company's culture of fear, the pressure to conform, and the retaliation against those who dared to speak out. The whistleblower's actions further fueled the public outrage against the company, their revelations adding weight to DeAndre's lawsuit and strengthening his case. The company, now facing multiple accusations of wrongdoing, found itself in a deepening crisis, its reputation in tatters, its stock price plummeting. Investors grew wary, clients withdrew their contracts, and the company's future hung in the balance. This secondary plot development, fueled by the courage of DeAndre's colleagues, served to expose the systemic corruption within the company and to amplify the message of DeAndre's lawsuit. It highlighted the importance of speaking truth to power, of challenging injustice, and of standing in solidarity with those who have been wronged. The whistleblower's actions also served as a catalyst for change within the company. The board of directors, faced with mounting pressure from investors, the public, and their own employees, realized that they could no longer ignore the systemic issues that had plagued the company for so long. They initiated an internal investigation, hiring an independent firm to conduct a thorough review of the company's safety practices and corporate culture. The investigation revealed a pattern of negligence, cost-cutting measures that compromised safety, and a culture of fear that discouraged employees from reporting violations. The board of directors, faced with the undeniable evidence of their company's wrongdoing, took decisive action. They fired the CEO and several other top executives who had been responsible for creating and perpetuating the toxic culture. They implemented new policies and procedures to prioritize worker safety, investing in training, equipment, and a confidential reporting system for employees to report safety violations without fear of retaliation. They also committed to creating a more ethical and responsible corporate culture, one that valued its employees, prioritized their well-being, and fostered a sense of trust and transparency. They recognized that their company's success depended not just on profits but also on the dedication and well-being of its workers. Throughout this tumultuous period, DeAndre's wife, Aisha, was his anchor, his source of strength and unwavering support. She had always admired his strong sense of right and wrong, his quiet dignity, and his dedication to their family. Now, faced with the injustice of his dismissal and the uncertainty of the lawsuit, she stood by him with unwavering love and unwavering faith. Aisha, a woman of quiet strength and unwavering faith, was a pillar of support for DeAndre and their family. She worked as a nurse at the local hospital, her compassionate nature and dedication to helping others a reflection of her character. She had always been a source of comfort and stability for DeAndre, her calm demeanor and unwavering belief in him a constant source of strength. Now, faced with the injustice of his dismissal and the uncertainty of the lawsuit, she stepped up, her love for DeAndre and her commitment to their family fueling her determination to weather the storm. She listened to his fears and frustrations, offering words of encouragement and reassurance. She reminded him of his values, his integrity, and the importance of fighting for what is right, even when the odds seemed stacked against him. She also took on the added responsibilities of managing the household and caring for their children, shielding them from the stress and uncertainty of the situation as much as possible. She explained to them, in age-appropriate terms, what their father was going through, emphasizing his bravery and his commitment to doing what is right. She painted a picture of their father as a hero, a man who had risked his own safety to save another, a man who was fighting for justice and fairness. DeAndre, in turn, drew strength from Aisha's unwavering love and support. He found solace in her presence, her calm demeanor a soothing balm to his anxieties. He confided in her, sharing his doubts and fears, his hopes and dreams for the future. He found in her a partner, a confidant, a source of unwavering strength and unwavering love. Their relationship deepened through this shared experience, their bond forged in the fires of adversity. They learned to communicate more openly and honestly, sharing their vulnerabilities and fears, their hopes and dreams. They discovered a newfound appreciation for each other, their love strengthened by the challenges they faced together. They found comfort in the simple rituals of their life together, the shared meals, the bedtime stories with their children, the quiet moments of connection at the end of a long day. They found strength in their shared faith, their belief in a higher power guiding them through the storm. DeAndre's relationship with his children also evolved. He had always been a loving and devoted father, but the incident and its aftermath brought them closer. He shared his story with them, explaining why he had been fired and why he was fighting for justice. He answered their questions honestly, acknowledging their fears and concerns, but also emphasizing the importance of standing up for what is right. He used the experience as a teaching moment, emphasizing the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult or unpopular. He encouraged them to be brave, to be kind, and to always follow their conscience, even when it meant going against the grain. He taught them that true strength lay not just in physical prowess but also in moral courage, in the willingness to stand up for what is right, even when it was difficult or unpopular. His children, in turn, responded with love and admiration. They saw their father as a hero, a man of courage and integrity. They were proud of him for fighting for what he believed in, and they offered him their unconditional love and support. They drew pictures of him as a superhero, rescuing people from danger. They told their friends at school about their brave father, their voices filled with pride and admiration. The incident, while challenging and disruptive, ultimately served to strengthen DeAndre's family bonds. It brought them closer, fostering a deeper understanding, appreciation, and love for one another. It taught them the importance of resilience, the power of unity, and the unwavering strength of family in the face of adversity. The day of the trial arrived, a day of reckoning for DeAndre and the construction company. The courtroom was packed, the atmosphere thick with anticipation and tension. Reporters scribbled furiously, their pens capturing every word, every gesture, every nuance of the proceedings. Cameras flashed, capturing the scene for the evening news, the story of the hero fired for saving a child, having captivated the nation. DeAndre, dressed in his best suit, his hands calloused but his demeanor dignified, took the stand, his heart pounding in his chest, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. He swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, his voice resonating with honesty and conviction. He recounted the incident, his words painting a vivid picture of the terrifying scene that had unfolded on that fateful afternoon. He described the sight of the young boy, his face contorted with fear, his tiny hands clinging precariously to the railing of the scaffolding, his body swaying dangerously close to the edge. He spoke of the panic of the mother, her screams echoing through the construction site, her desperate pleas for someone to save her child. He described the paralysis that had gripped his colleagues, their faces pale with fear, their bodies frozen in a moment of collective helplessness. And then he spoke of his own actions, his instinctive decision to unclip his safety harness, to disregard the rules, to risk his own life to save the child. He described the adrenaline coursing through his veins, the urgency of the situation, the lack of time to hesitate or to consider the consequences. He spoke of the relief he felt when he pulled the child to safety, the boy's small body trembling in his arms, his tears soaking DeAndre's shirt. He described the gratitude of the mother, her tearful embrace, her words of heartfelt thanks echoing in his ears. He spoke of the cheers of his colleagues, their relief and admiration palpable in the air. He also spoke of the shock and disbelief he felt when he was fired, the injustice of being punished for saving a life, the betrayal of a company he had served faithfully for years. He described the emotional turmoil, the sleepless nights, the financial strain on his family, and the damage to his reputation. He emphasized his commitment to safety, his understanding of the rules, but also his belief in a higher code of human decency, a code that compelled him to act, to protect a vulnerable child, even if it meant breaking the rules. He argued that his actions, while technically a violation of safety protocols, were justified by the extraordinary circumstances, the imminent danger to the child's life, and the lack of time to follow standard procedures. The courtroom was captivated by his testimony, his words painting a vivid picture of the incident and the conflicting emotions he had experienced. The jury, a diverse group of men and women from various walks of life, listened intently, their faces etched with a mixture of admiration and concern. They could see the genuine emotion in DeAndre's eyes, the honesty in his voice, the integrity that radiated from his every word and gesture. The company's lawyers, in their cross-examination, attempted to portray DeAndre as a reckless and irresponsible employee who had violated safety protocols and put himself and others at risk. They emphasized the importance of following the rules, the potential consequences of DeAndre's actions, and the company's commitment to maintaining a safe working environment. They argued that DeAndre's actions, while well-intentioned, had set a dangerous precedent, undermining the company's safety culture and potentially encouraging other employees to disregard safety protocols in the future. They painted a picture of a company that was simply upholding its responsibility to ensure the safety of its workers and the public. But their arguments seemed to fall flat in the face of DeAndre's genuine emotion and the overwhelming evidence of his heroism. The jury, their eyes fixed on DeAndre, seemed to understand that he had acted with courage and compassion, that he had done what any decent human being would have done in that situation. They seemed to recognize that sometimes, in the face of extraordinary circumstances, the rules must be bent, and human life must take precedence over rigid adherence to regulations. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the jury retired to deliberate, their decision carrying the weight of justice and the potential to reshape the future of DeAndre's life and the construction company. Hours passed, the courtroom silent except for the occasional cough or the rustle of papers. Finally, the jury returned, their faces solemn, their verdict carrying the weight of their deliberations. The foreman read the verdict, his voice clear and steady. In the case of DeAndre Jackson versus Acme Construction Company, we, the jury, find in favor of the plaintiff, DeAndre Jackson. The courtroom erupted in cheers and applause, DeAndre's supporters celebrating his triumph over injustice. DeAndre, his heart swelling with relief and gratitude, embraced his wife and children, their tears of joy mingling with his own. He had won not just for himself but for his family, his colleagues, and anyone who had ever been punished for doing the right thing. The verdict sent a powerful message, a message that resonated far beyond the confines of the courtroom. It was a message that affirmed the importance of human decency, the value of courage and compassion, and the power of individuals to challenge injustice and stand up for what is right. It was a message that resonated with the public, who had followed DeAndre's story with bated breath, their hearts touched by his heroism and their sense of justice ignited by the company's callous actions. The verdict in DeAndre's favor was a significant victory, a triumph of justice over corporate greed and indifference. But it was only the first step towards resolving the broader conflict, the conflict between the company's pursuit of profit and its responsibility to its employees and the public. The company, its reputation tarnished, its stock price plummeting, faced a reckoning. They had to address the systemic issues that had led to DeAndre's dismissal, the culture of disregard for safety, and the prioritization of profits over people. They had to rebuild trust with their employees, their investors, and the public to demonstrate that they were committed to creating a more ethical and responsible corporate culture. They initiated a series of reforms, implementing stricter safety protocols, investing in employee training, and creating a confidential reporting system for employees to report safety violations without fear of retaliation. They reviewed their safety manuals, updated their training programs, and hired additional safety inspectors to ensure that all construction sites were in compliance with safety regulations. They also established a corporate social responsibility program, donating to local charities and supporting community initiatives. They partnered with organizations that promoted worker safety, funded scholarships for students pursuing careers in construction, and volunteered their time and resources to support community development projects. They reached out to DeAndre, offering him his job back with a promotion and a public apology. They acknowledged the injustice of his dismissal, praised his heroism, and expressed their commitment to creating a more ethical and responsible corporate culture. They offered him a leadership role in the company's newly formed safety committee, recognizing his expertise and his commitment to worker safety. DeAndre, after careful consideration and consultation with his lawyer and his family, accepted their offer. He returned to the construction site, his head held high, his colleagues welcoming him back with cheers and handshakes. He was no longer just a construction worker. He was a symbol of courage, integrity, and the power of individual action to challenge injustice. He used his newfound platform to advocate for worker safety, speaking at industry conferences and participating in safety training programs. He shared his story, emphasizing the importance of following safety protocols, but also the importance of human compassion and the courage to do what is right, even when it means bending the rules. He became a voice for his fellow workers, advocating for their rights, their safety, and their well-being. He challenged the company to prioritize its employees, to create a workplace where everyone felt valued, respected, and empowered to speak up for what is right. The company, through its reforms and its public acknowledgement of DeAndre's heroism, began to rebuild its reputation. They regained the trust of their employees, their investors, and the public. They became a model for other companies, demonstrating that it is possible to prioritize both safety and ethical conduct, that profits and people are not mutually exclusive. The conflict resolution process was not without its challenges. There were lingering resentments, doubts, and fears. Some employees remained skeptical of the company's commitment to change, their trust broken by years of neglect and disregard. Some investors questioned the financial impact of the reforms, their focus on profits clashing with the company's newfound emphasis on social responsibility. But through open dialogue, transparency, and a genuine commitment to change, the company and its employees were able to move forward, creating a more positive and productive working environment. The company held town hall meetings, inviting employees to share their concerns and suggestions. They established a confidential hotline for employees to report safety violations and ethical concerns. They implemented a diversity and inclusion program, promoting a more welcoming and inclusive workplace for all employees. DeAndre's story became a catalyst for change within the construction industry, inspiring other companies to reevaluate their safety protocols and their corporate culture. It highlighted the importance of valuing employees, prioritizing their well-being, and creating a workplace where everyone feels safe, respected, and empowered to speak up for what is right. The incident with the falling child and its aftermath marked a turning point in DeAndre's life, a catalyst for personal growth and a newfound passion for advocacy. He had always been a man of quiet dignity and strong work ethic, but the experience had awakened within him a new sense of purpose and a desire to make a difference in the world. He realized that his actions had not only saved a child's life, but had also exposed systemic issues within the construction industry, issues that needed to be addressed. He felt a responsibility to use his newfound platform to advocate for change, to ensure that no other worker would be punished for doing the right thing, to promote a culture of safety and responsibility within the industry. He became involved in labor unions, attending meetings, participating in rallies, and speaking out for the rights of workers. He worked with union leaders to promote worker safety, advocate for fair wages and benefits, and challenge unfair labor practices. He shared his story, inspiring his fellow workers to stand up for their rights and to demand a safe and respectful workplace. He also became involved in community forums, speaking out against corporate greed and the exploitation of workers. He shared his experiences with the public, highlighting the dangers of prioritizing profits over people and the importance of holding corporations accountable for their actions. He encouraged community members to support businesses that prioritized worker safety and fair labor practices. He even considered running for local office, believing that he could make a difference in the lives of his community by advocating for policies that protected workers' rights and promoted social justice. He envisioned a community where all workers were treated with dignity and respect, where safety was a priority, and where everyone had the opportunity to earn a fair wage and provide for their families. This turning point marked a shift in DeAndre's focus, from building structures to building a better future for himself, his family, and his community. He had discovered a new passion, a new purpose, a new direction for his life. He had found his voice, his strength, and his calling to be an advocate for change. He continued to work in construction, his skills and experience valuable assets to the company. But he also dedicated a significant portion of his time to his advocacy work. He became a sought-after speaker, sharing his story at conferences, schools, and community events. He inspired others with his courage, his integrity, and his unwavering commitment to justice. He became a mentor to young people, especially those from marginalized communities, encouraging them to pursue their dreams, to believe in themselves, and to make a positive impact on the world. He shared his experiences, his struggles, and his triumphs, demonstrating that even in the face of adversity, they could achieve their goals and make a difference. He also became involved in local politics, volunteering for campaigns, donating to causes he believed in, and advocating for policies that promoted social justice and economic equality. He saw the power of politics to affect change on a larger scale, to create a more just and equitable society for all. This turning point in DeAndre's life was not just about a change in career or focus. It was about a transformation of his identity and his understanding of his place in the world. He had always been a man of action, a builder, a provider, but now he was also an advocate, a leader, a voice for the voiceless. He had discovered a new dimension to himself, a passion for justice and a commitment to making a difference that extended beyond his immediate family and community. He had found a way to use his experiences, his struggles, and his triumphs to inspire and empower others. He had also found a new sense of fulfillment, a deeper meaning to his life. He realized that his work as a construction worker was not just about building structures. It was about building a better future for his community, for his children, and for generations to come. He saw the connection between his work and his advocacy, recognizing that the buildings he helped construct were not just physical structures but also symbols of progress, of human ingenuity, and of the potential for a better future. He saw his work as a contribution to the community, a way to create spaces where people could live, work, and thrive. He also recognized the importance of his advocacy work, his efforts to promote worker safety, fair labor practices, and social justice. He saw his advocacy as a way to build a better future for all workers, to create a society where everyone had the opportunity to achieve their full potential and live a life of dignity and respect. This turning point in DeAndre's life was a testament to his resilience, his adaptability, and his unwavering commitment to his values. He had faced adversity, learned from his experiences, and emerged stronger and more determined to make a difference in the world. DeAndre's journey through the incident with the falling child, his wrongful dismissal, the lawsuit, and his subsequent advocacy work was a transformative experience, a crucible that forged his character and deepened his understanding of himself and the world around him. He had faced adversity with courage and integrity, refusing to compromise his values even when faced with personal and professional challenges. He had learned the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it was difficult or unpopular, and he had discovered the power of his own voice to inspire change. He had also learned the importance of community, the strength that comes from standing together in the face of injustice. He had experienced the support of his family, his friends, his colleagues, and even strangers who had been touched by his story. He had learned that he was not alone in his fight for justice, that there were others who shared his values and his commitment to creating a better world. He had grown as a person, his empathy deepened, his understanding broadened, his resolve strengthened. He had learned the importance of balancing his responsibilities to his family with his commitment to his community and his passion for justice. He had learned to navigate the complexities of the legal system, the media, and the political arena, his voice gaining strength and clarity with each new challenge. He had discovered that true strength lies not just in physical prowess but also in moral courage, in the willingness to stand up for what is right, even when it is difficult or unpopular. He had learned that true success is not measured solely by material wealth or professional achievements but also by the positive impact one has on the lives of others. He had come to appreciate the power of human connection, the importance of community, and the strength that comes from standing together in the face of adversity. He had learned that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope, that even the smallest of actions can make a difference, and that together we can build a better world. Reflecting on his journey, DeAndre felt a sense of gratitude for the challenges he had faced, the lessons he had learned, and the growth he had experienced. He recognized that the incident with the falling child, though traumatic and disruptive, had ultimately led him to a deeper understanding of himself, his values, and his purpose in life. He was grateful for the support of his wife, Aisha, her unwavering love and faith a constant source of strength throughout his ordeal. He cherished his children, their admiration and love fueling his determination to be a role model for them, to teach them the importance of courage, integrity, and compassion. He was grateful for his colleagues, their solidarity and support reminding him that he was not alone in his fight for justice. He was grateful for his lawyer, Mr. Davis, whose expertise and dedication had helped him navigate the complexities of the legal system and achieve a victory for himself and for workers' rights. He was also grateful for the strangers who had reached out to him with messages of support and encouragement, their kindness reminding him of the goodness that exists in the world. He was grateful for the opportunity to use his experiences to inspire others, to advocate for change, and to contribute to a more just and equitable society. DeAndre's story is a powerful testament to the human spirit's resilience and the transformative power of courage and compassion. It highlights the importance of doing what is right, even when it is difficult or unpopular, and the impact that one person's actions can have on a community and beyond. His journey underscores the importance of challenging injustice, speaking truth to power, and advocating for change. It reminds us that we all have a responsibility to stand up for what we believe in, to protect the vulnerable, and to work towards a more just and equitable society. DeAndre's story is an inspiration to us all, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can find the strength to do what is right, to make a difference, and to leave a positive mark on the world. It is a story that celebrates the human spirit's triumph over injustice, the power of collective action, and the enduring belief in the possibility of a better future. It is a story that challenges us to examine our own values, to prioritize human life over rigid adherence to rules and regulations, and to find the courage to act with compassion and integrity, even when it means going against the grain. DeAndre's story reminds us that true heroism is not about grand gestures or extraordinary feats, but about the everyday choices we make to stand up for what is right, to protect the vulnerable, and to make a positive impact on the world around us. It is a story that celebrates the power of individual action to inspire change, the importance of community in supporting and amplifying those actions, and the transformative potential of collective action to create a more just and equitable society. DeAndre's journey is a beacon of hope, illuminating the path towards a world where human decency, compassion, and justice prevail. It is a story that reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, to be heroes in our own way, and to contribute to a better future for all.